someplace.
You're on.
In the rain. Sometimes at night you look like a long white train, running your way away somewhere. River, I love you, don't you care?
Yay! Good morning, everybody. Hi, it's Jill Fitzberg and Trevor Molyneux and Javier Colon. Yay! We are so excited. I recommend that everyone starts their week in a nightclub or theater Tuesday morning after a long weekend.
I know.
With a beautiful
awesome.
singer. How great is this?
This is amazing. So we're broadcasting this morning live from FTC. The exciting thing about this is Javier Colon is going to be starring in Big River, and that production will be starting June 15th, 16th, and 17th.
That's
Right
correct.
here in Fairfield.
Right here.
Right here on the stage.
I'm so
Super
excited. How did that come about, this particular show?
My good friend Christine Brown reached out
Christine.
to me. And,
A favorite of ours.
Yes, she's a friend of all of ours. She reached out and said, "Hey, there's the possibility of Big River coming back to Fairfield. She's starting a new repertory theater called Unquote Repertory, and we'd love you to be a part of it." And I said, "Absolutely," because this literally Big River is my favorite show, I think, of all time. So I jumped at the opportunity and super glad to be able to do it. I did this role in high school, which is actually the first time Christine and I met. Was she had come to this to my performing in Big River in high school. So
Was that in Follies,
so
or was that in
amazing.
your school? Was that through your high school?
it was actually through Fairfield Teen Theater.
Fairfield Teen?
And I wasn't even a Fairfield teen. I was actually a Stratford teen. But
I know that program. That's a great program.
Yeah, it's a great program.
It
And-
still exists.
My daughter was in there too.
My daughter was too.
Oh, nice.
In fact, my daughter is freaking out that she had to go to her internship this morning. And what was it meeting you? And because she has loved you since, and for anyone who does not know this, which to me is almost strange, Javier was the first winner of the amazing show The Voice. And she has loved you since then and told me since then, "Mom, there's this guy from Connecticut and he's been in Fairfield and he's amazing, amazing, amazing." And so many people have known that. Do you mind I'm sure you've rehashed this so many times, but since our audience was so excited, and probably a lot of them texted for you and
Yes,
voted for you.
they
I know
did.
in our house we were doing that constantly. What was that like? And I know that all the chairs turned around for you.
Yes.
Yes.
I did get the 4-chair
As
turn.
they should.
Thank you. It was an amazing opportunity for me, and absolutely changed my life. And I say, to all of those who texted, especially those from Connecticut, I only won by 2% of the vote. So I call that my Connecticut folks.
But it's a small state. See,
It's a small
everyone
state,
has
but
a
everybody,
say, and you're
everybody
still
contributed.
A lot of power here in Connecticut.
And all the
You're
little.
being modest.
Yeah, well, no, but all the folks that set up little call centers at their houses and
amazing.
were borrowing their grandmother's phone so that they can vote for me and text for me as many times as they could. They were creating emails to be able to vote as many times. All of that that meant so much to me, and I think it was the reason that I was able to win, and I'm so very grateful for all of those people who took the time to do that.
So that's why it's so cool that all those people that did can now come back and see you in
Yeah.
person and hear that voice. Now we've been able to hear you at another event here. Your voice is so fantastic with no really assistance except your guitar. And I have to ask, of course, the gossipy question. So I know you chose Adam.
Yes.
Because everyone asked me to ask you this. Okay.
Right.
So everyone has said, like, what was he really like, and how was it working with him? And you had a great performance with him, and also with Stevie Nicks. I have to say that was my other.
Yeah, it was one of my favorites too. Adam's he was awesome. He's the guy that you see, on the show. He yes.
Very
He looks that handsome, I guess, in person. Yes, that is true. I didn't really mean it that way, but he's the you and everyone else. Yes, but he's just a great guy. He really cared about me and my family and our well-being, and he really wanted me to win, and it wasn't about him getting a win. It was about trying to help change my life, and he helped. Even in the recording process, we were playing songs, and he ended up guest appearing on one of the tracks on that album. And then the next year he took me out. I opened up for Maroon 5 in South America, well, Mexico and South America. Opening up for
Cool.
35,000 people in Rio and Sao Paulo, and it's just, he didn't have to do that, but he did that because he cared, and he wanted to help out in whatever way he could, and that was awesome. So I'll still see him on occasion if I go to LA and he's free. We'll maybe get some golf in, or if he comes this way, we'll try to get some golf in while he's in town. So
I can get you a foursome in Patterson.
Oh, see, I'll let you know.
Let us know. How much do you love singing like this versus your Broadway? Now that you're coming in to do this Broadway, do you have one that you love more than the other, or all of it?
I do love it all, but I will say that singing the Broadway stuff. And to give you a bit of history, all through high school and even my first year of college, I was a music theater major. So music theater was and still is a huge part of my life, and was kind of there in the beginning when I really started. That's kind of what I loved so much. So to be able to reconnect with that side of me, because it is a completely different style of singing. Acting, that part of me that I really hadn't been able to exercise in it's so long. I don't even want to put a number on it, but it's so long. So it's really exciting.
I posted your video Gravity, and then I feel like you're acting a lot in there too.
I am,
That's a really cool video.
Thank you. Yeah, there was definitely some acting in there, and I wanted that. You can have other people stand in and be the actors, and I was like, no, I was like, I want to do it. Like, this is something that that I enjoy doing, and I wanted to play the parts in my own video, and I was able to do that.
It was awesome.
I'm excited to get back on stage doing live theater, which is just a completely different animal. Yeah.
And what is
Broadway coming?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I can see you on Broadway, and certainly today with Hamilton, this huge hit that it feels like Broadway. Broadway is just resurging. Doesn't it feel like there's greater interest? I think Hamilton has brought a lot of the next generation into the theater, and I can see you being very successful at that.
I would love to do Broadway. So I had two goals as a kid. One was to make it to Broadway, and one was to be a recording artist. And I've been fortunate enough that I've been able to record and do half of that dream is done. The other side is doing the Broadway thing. So I've got to try and make that happen in the near future. But you're right, Hamilton completely changed the game and made theater cool for everybody. It's kind of like how Rent did it for me in my generation.
Me too.
I remember just being like, wow, this is amazing. But I think Hamilton is significantly multiplied than what Rent was able to do. So it's cool again. Everybody,
it really is.
Nobody's gonna knock you for being in theater, because it's a cool thing to do. You have somebody like Lin-Manuel Miranda who just he is a genius, and he knows how to connect with everyone. That show connects with everyone, regardless of where you're from. If you watch it and you really pay attention, it's gonna affect you in some way. So,
but you'd have to rap if you were in that show.
I can rap. Yeah, I can rap. So don't worry. If I do get into Hamilton one day, I'll be able to do my part.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, would you like to sing us a song this morning?
Yeah. I think. Let me.
Pretty fabulous.
Yeah. And by the way, Kathy Reynolds is saying hello to us. Good morning. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy. Hey, it was your birthday recently, wasn't it?
Happy birthday,
Happy
Kathy.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
So let me go and
Okay, I'm
grab
gonna
my
move the camera.
guitar and see what.
And I'm real highly recommending this first thing in the week, starting at this dark FTC nightclub.
The lighting is very soft and
Yes.
not jarring.
Oh, it's a perfect
For
way
a
to start the
Tuesday
week.
morning. Yeah, I agree. So I was just going to sing a little bit of one of the songs from Big River. This song is called Worlds Apart, and in the song, Jim and Huck kind of talk about the different lives that they lead, even though, you know, their differences are not many. I mean, you know, yeah, so Huck has blue eyes and Jim has brown eyes, and they see, you know, but they see the world through completely different eyes, you know, and completely different sets of life experiences. So that's what the song talks about. It's called Worlds Apart. I see the same stars through my window. You see through yours, but we're worlds apart, worlds apart. And I see the same skies through brown eyes that you see through, but we're worlds apart, worlds apart. Just like the earth, just like the sun, two worlds together are better than one. And I see the sunrise in your eyes, then you see in mine, but we're worlds apart, worlds apart.
Wow.
That was beautiful.
More relevant than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the short version of the song, and then Huck starts to sing, and we do this nice duet throughout the rest of the song. It's one of my favorites from the show.
Oh, it's really
that gave me
fantastic.
chills.
Thank you. Oh, thank
That
you.
was just beautiful.
It's a little early in the morning. Still
And
getting
you
out
have a
the-
cold.
I do. I just came back. I was just telling folks here. I just came back from Europe and had this amazing trip, and there was lots of singing, and I was able to stay healthy for 3 weeks, and it was really important because I had so much singing to do. But then I get home and I hug my babies, in that
all
split second, I think is when they gave me something. So so here I am with another head cold. But that's the joys of parenthood. So that's okay.
So that's how you sound with a head cold.
Yeah, that's how I sound. with a
Pretty
head
good,
cold,
right?
So
yeah.
nobody has to worry when they come to hear you because you sounded amazing.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I loved it. Javier introduced me to a new verb, purelling.
Purelling. It will be in the dictionary soon. I did a lot of purelling on the cruise. They tell you, to make sure that you wash your hands often, and because you're kind of in this capsule on these cruises, and
Like a big airplane.
it is a big airplane, a big dirty airplane. So but cruises are great.
Cruises are
I don't want
great.
the cruise people to be mad at me,
Cruises
but
are
it was.
great.
It's just if one person
You
gets sick.
got through it.
Yeah.
I did. Here I am.
And then how are you going to say no to some adorable, wonderful
That's
child
right, to
of
my
yours who comes and
babies.
hugs you?
Yeah, my babies. We surprised them. We came in the house and we were there before. They went out to get ice cream with Nana and Papa, and they brought them in, and we were sitting on the stairs inside the house when they came in. So they just came in, they kind of turned their heads and saw us, and it was like, Daddy, Mommy! It was pretty awesome.
Do they like to sing?
They do. My oldest daughter, Solana, she's gotten the theater bug. She is in, musical theater classes and acting, and she loves it. She loves to sing. She loves Hamilton almost as much as I do. She knows pretty much every word as I do.
That's no small feat.
No, it is not. She raps and everything. She loves it. She loves it. And so Solana and Amaya, my middle girl, they both play violin and piano. And and we all sing. It's like a
musical
prerequisite in our house. You have to sing, and you see. I mean, not that you have to, but I'm singing all the time, so you might as well just join in, and that's what we do in the car. I got so many videos of us in the car singing.
So you have your own carpool of karaoke.
Oh, it's our own
carpool.
karaoke.
Okay, it's carpool.
Right.
James Gordon.
Exactly.
That would be cute.
Yes.
to see.
I'll post some more videos so you can follow me on Instagram, and you'll see them for sure.
Should we get to some of our news today? Maybe Javier can jump in if you feel like talking about anything.
Let's do it. I'm in.
All right, so there's a lot that happened this
Beware.
weekend, and Joe and I, of course, so all week long, Joe and I are constantly comparing notes going, can you believe that? Can you believe this? And I think, I think Sofia Coppola was one of the things that I was so excited about this weekend. She won the Palme d'Or for director, best director. Second time only a woman has won.
Excellent.
Which is very cool.
That's
For
amazing.
this movie, which sounds, I thought it was sounding really interesting, but then I found it, I'm scared, it's a horror movie. A gothic horror movie
I
called
hate
Beguiled with Nicole Kidman and Kristen Dunst. Does this sound familiar? It sounds really interesting, but I'm the biggest baby in scary
I
movies.
cannot watch scary stuff. I'm really
But
pathetic.
maybe for her, I'm pathetic.
My wife won't let me watch scary stuff. If I watch it, I have to watch it on the plane, like when I'm going somewhere. She won't watch it with me.
Except for maybe if this is because Sophia won, we're gonna have
We're
to
gonna
watch
have
this.
Might have to.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to do a proper review.
Now, the other thing that we were been sort of chit-chatting about this weekend was Melania Trump. She was on this trip. It was kind of her coming out because she's sort of been the behind-the-scenes first lady. But what she did was she did some amazingly beautiful outfits, or she got them from Michael Kors and Dolce & Gabbana. But the thing that everybody's talking about is this particular coat. I think you brought it to my attention. It's a Dolce & Gabbana coat. It was $51,000.
Oh, I'm sure they just lent it to her.
They probably did.
Yeah.
Does anyone ever
Or
pay?
not.
Just,
Or not.
Or not.
Or she said that's like, $5 to
Because,
Jill.
and the thing is that now she cannot really ever wear that again.
Yeah, it's such a famous
True.
coat. It's
You
probably
know.
going to go in a museum now, right? There's probably
I mean,
some-
that's the thing is like when you are that kind of in the public eye, you can't wear something twice. Like unless it's like just like a regular black dress or like I see it. It's unfair because guys get away with that all the
Right.
time. And,
Oh,
and
he's in
women
that
can't.
Navy suit.
Right, and I think
Nobody notices.
there was a reporter that did he did like an entire year in the same suit, and nobody
Oh, I
said
read about the
anything
story. And
to
the
him.
woman kept changing her outfit.
And, right, and it was to bring attention to the fact that it was totally,
I so
unfair.
love it.
That's so funny. There's actually one of those kind of cheesy magazines has a feature, and it says like, Jennifer Aniston's obsessed with her Bottega bag, and it'll show her with the same handbag 3 times, as if even your handbag.
Yeah.
It's really
Which
crazy.
is, I think, created a really tough thing for younger girls who are really crazy now with all their photos.
Right.
That I wore
Instagram.
that,
Right.
and that's kind of too.
And it's unfair. And I've had the same wallet for the last 2 years.
and
It doesn't matter.
we want to reuse a little bit. Okay, so there's kind of a sad story this weekend. Travis Kalanick, I'm not going to say his name, Kalanick. He's the CEO or founder of Uber. This guy has been really supported by his parents. He even moved back into his house when he was 27. He'd had 2 failing ventures, and his parents were really great, kept supporting him. And his mom, unfortunately, passed away. She was in a boating accident with the dad, which is really sad. I mean, he has had some issues. He's had
Lately.
a lot of Uber's had a lot of stuff going on,
Right.
but I think all of us kind of come together and feel badly for them. And
Yeah, sending prayers out for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
That's too bad.
And okay, this is a crazy story. Did you hear about in Texas? There was this actual scuffle on the floor, their house floor. There were protesters protesting.
You mean like a physical fight?
Physical fight between their politicians, their elected officials. There's SB 4, which is a bill that they introduced against banning sanctuary cities. And so there was a bunch of protesters up on the sort of around the edges, and one of the GOP Republicans called ICE, which is their
Immigration.
Yes, immigration, to that meeting, which caused this huge scuffle on the floor.
But
This is like
last
something's
night I
happened
was
to
watching
politics here.
I was watching baseball, and the Washington Nationals, and I forgot where they were playing. They had a huge scuffle. Where,
Really?
and
That was
it's
last
so
night, right?
it's so funny.
Yeah,
I
I
always
heard
think
about
it's so
that.
funny because the whole team jumps off the bench and they run in the
Right.
middle,
Wow.
and I feel like they just punch whoever they can punch or whatever.
Right.
Oh my
And
God.
It's
you
like
just
a
think like
free-for-all, yeah.
it's so funny.
What is
That's
going
now
on?
what's happening in these political.
in politics
Yeah.
too. I mean, it used to be kind of sleepy out there. It's gotten a little different.
It's a little less civil these days.
less civil these days. What is going on?
I mean, I have to bring up. I don't think we mentioned this, but that what happened in Portland, those guys that defended those women on the train. Is,
Heroes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Appalling what
2 men died.
what that guy did.
and heartbreaking.
Right, and and that's the the kind of situation that any one of us could find ourselves in, and you want to be able to step in, and you want to be able to say no, don't.
Right.
You're not going to do that while I'm around.
And now are people going to?
And now
Everybody's afraid.
people may be afraid to step in and afraid to stop those the kind of hateful speech and the berating of others in public when
Any kind of bullying is not okay.
Not acceptable.
And we have to feel safe to be able to intervene. But of course, this was probably the
Oh
worst.
my God,
Right.
my heart is just
Right.
cries for those. And if you read about those men, they were just beautiful, wonderful men. And they
Absolutely.
said no one was surprised they were always doing things like this.
Right.
We just never expected to
Right.
come to this.
Well, we
Wow.
cannot give up. Don't give up, and we have to continue to speak out.
Right.
Right. We just can't let that
Right.
go on.
We can't let that win.
And then, we always talk about Jared.
Now he's got a capital J.
Jared is, okay, he's now under investigation.
No.
No,
He's under scrutiny.
scrutiny.
He's
Excuse
not.
me?
He's not yet a target.
Okay.
I don't. There's a difference. There's a subtle difference.
Subtle
I've watched
difference.
I watch way too much news.
Right.
Right.
You and I both.
Right. So apparently, this is what they're suggesting is Jared was looking to open a back channel of communication with the Russians prior to the inauguration. So this is during the transition, which you are not supposed to do. Certainly not as a private citizen, and then as an incoming president, you shouldn't be creating back channels or any kind of international
Right.
connections. And so they're all now wondering what was happening with the Russians. Anybody have thoughts on this? Because we love to discuss this kind of stuff.
And apparently, other presidents have done back channel
Oh, really?
things.
Yep.
I didn't know
You
that.
you can do. There's ways, but I think the big bone of contention, other than all the other maybe things that are kind of going on with him, is that they wanted to actually go to a Russian diplomatic center to do their communications,
Right.
thinking that and they didn't want any U.S. intelligence to have any.
Right.
That's what's maybe a little.
That's the questionable part. Okay.
But we'll
Right.
see. I don't know. If you're a betting person, would you bet this out all comes to something and people are actually out of their positions, or do you think it's gonna
Is this
they're
like
gonna
smoke,
get
there's
around
fire
it?
kind of idea?
Yeah,
or is
you know,
this-
I think they're definitely following the smoke to see what the fire is and how big it is. But I guess only time will tell. To see how
See what
how it
happens.
all plays out.
This
for
is
sure.
not a dull administration.
No,
This is
not
not
at all.
boring.
Not at all.
So kind of a sad story. I was really upset to read about this last night. Tiger Woods was arrested for a DUI. And this is a man who's been so brilliant and being, driving under the influence, terrible. But I also look at this man who is so incredibly talented and just, his trajectory was so high and then he's just come down. And I feel like when his dad died, I don't know if you noticed that he's just started to crumble.
Right.
Like everything it felt like his dad was sort of his North Star. I don't know.
This morning, he said that it was a reaction to, right? Did you hear
So
that?
yes, I did. I was just
Reaction
gonna say
to
that.
drugs he
It
was
was-
taking for something.
Yeah, he said
interesting.
he wanted to clear the air, and he released a statement on his website saying that he takes complete responsibility for what he did. He expects better of himself, and he'll make sure that it doesn't happen again. But he wants to say that this was not an alcohol-related incident, that he had a reaction to drugs that he was taking, and thus what happened last night happened. That's what he says. But that also, by opening that can of worms, it also opens up a whole another discussion about prescription drugs in this country as well. And a lot of times people may be taking something that their doctor prescribes and not necessarily know how it could affect them if they take that with a whatever, with a Tylenol or you mix two prescription drugs. So that's something to if that is in fact the truth, that's something that we all need to know about.
And most of them, I mean, a guy like that, get a driver. Get a
Right.
driver, whether it's the alcohol or if you're on
Right.
any prescription drugs.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy these days to get a
Yeah.
driver.
Get an Uber.
And I
I just
Yeah.
think there's so many athletes out there, especially professional athletes, even high school athletes, who suffer injuries, and you're going to be taking these opioids possibly, and I just think they're prescribed way too much.
Right.
And it's scary. I think again, to your point, people don't understand the impact, and it's just really hard. I really think, especially athletes who you're doing something over and over again, you are going to get hurt.
Right.
So you get as a singer though, are you really careful about your voice? Do you have to be really careful about baby yourself?
I do. I mean, of course I caught a cold this week for my kids. It's something I try to keep myself as healthy as possible, and because any cold that you get, anything that you get is going to affect your voice. It's not an instrument that you can put down and just pick up and not affect you. Your body is your instrument, so you have to take care of especially your all your nasal passages, and I mean you get a cold, and it completely affects your sound, and affects everything. So
what happens with someone like a Frank? I always hear Frank Ocean's always having problems. Are some people just more vulnerable to that, or is there some things you can do? Because
as far as I don't
know him particularly, but I'm always hearing like he had to pull out for a while from performing or whatever for this.
Sometimes it could be a technique thing. It could be a technique thing. It could be overuse. Sometimes tour schedules are pretty grueling, and depending on how all in you go in your show, especially if you don't have a proper technique. And I was that person for a long time, and I think I'm just now starting to figure out a technique that's working for me to not blow out my voice. But it's something that's very, very easy to do when you're in the heat of a moment and you've got thousands of people in front of you, and you want to hit that note, and you forget about technique and you just go for it, and you go for the sound and for the feel. But then the next morning, you wake up and you don't have as many notes as you had the night before, and then you have to sing that day and the 3 days after that, and then just you're piling you're piling onto the problem, and it becomes an issue. So a week later you have no voice. So and if you do that enough times, you're gonna do some damage.
It's like being a pitcher and not getting the
just
rotation, right? Like not having your rotation.
Yeah.
I don't know people. Just out of curiosity, is there a young talent today, or a new, someone on the scene today that you think is fabulous, or that people should keep an eye on? Do you have a favorite?
Do I have a
these
favorite?
days?
A new favorite.
Doesn't have to be new, but I just wonder if there's
emerging
because
artists.
the real,
Let's see.
the true quality of vocal talent, etc. And I would just
Right. I just did on the cruise, on the Dave Koz cruise. I was fortunate enough to meet an extremely talented woman by the name of Aubrey Logan, and Aubrey is incredible. I can't even explain the style of music that she does, because she does everything. She plays the trombone and she sings, and she can scat like Ella, and then she can sing these beautiful harmony, these beautiful melodies like Eva Cassidy. She's amazing. Yeah, Aubrey Logan.
Aubrey Logan, we ought to check her out.
Yes, please do. She's amazing.
All right, a couple more interesting little tidbits here. There was a whole big uproar about Ivanka Trump suggesting that people make champagne popsicles for Memorial Day. Any thoughts on that one?
I just think people forget. Everyone kind of forgets. Sometimes it's a day off, and people forget that it's such a solemn day of remembrance in their excitement to get rolling for summer and having a day off. And I don't know. I think that's
fair. And Michelle Ross is saying good morning. Good morning, Michelle. And Gina Ludlow was saying beautiful. Gina's a fan.
Gina.
And John Branley is saying, hey, happy Tuesday. What else can we talk about?
Talk about that young kid who's like at 8 years old started this like political blog newsletter. Now yesterday he had this big story in the New York Times, and famous people all over the country, like scholars and politicians, are subscribing to his blog. He's now 15. It's called
crazy.
Politics
Now.
Something, and you can subscribe to it.
I'm gonna have to do that right now.
And this kid, he barely,
It's so cool.
he barely sleeps 4 hours a night, and he's up and he's synthesizing all this information and news, and he's got top political people and news people following him.
That's awesome.
It's
They're
pretty
saying
cool.
it's a more serious. Did you read The Skim ever?
I don't.
I love The Skim. They're saying it's a more serious The Skim. I just love all this stuff. The Skim is just a really good summary. It's kind of like how you were saying Hamilton brought. This is something that brings politics to a lot of younger people. It summarizes it. It's very witty, but it's somewhat light, but it's pretty good. But his is supposed to be even more impressive, and there's our train.
You can hear the train.
Fun
It's a great thing
fun
about
sound effect to sing with.
Yes.
Anyways, it's super cool. I'll post it on our page later
Nice.
to subscribe to.
So just a reminder for all of our Fairfield friends, we have an upcoming election on Tuesday. If you don't know, we have a special election for our Board of Selectmen. Please get out and vote. I am personally endorsing Kevin Kiley. Hello, Kevin. And really go to the polls Tuesday morning, June 6th. It's really important. Our Board of Selectmen has a great deal of influence in our town.
Yes.
And then
So make
whether
sure you do
you're
that.
celebrating or not after the election, go see Big River right here.
Right here,
Yes.
Fairfield Theater Company. Buy your tickets now. We've got 3 evenings and a matinee.
That's right, June 15, 16, and 17.
Yeah.
Those evenings, and also there's a matinee on the 17th at 3 p.m.
3 p.m. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, everybody, have a great week.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for tuning
We are
in.
so lucky
We had
My
so much fun
pleasure.
having Javier with us on the
My pleasure. Thank you, guys. And we'll see you, Big River.